So today I want to talk a little bit about addiction. In my small hometown society, addiction is a huge issue. Now, we talk about the effects of addiction all the time. We talk about how it robs people of their lives. We talk about how it leads people down a dark path. We talk about how it increases crime. And we come up with solutions, right? We come up with solutions that make drugs harder to get. We come up with solutions that make saving the lives of overdose victims easier. We come up with punishments that are more severe so that it deters drug dealers or drug users from possessing and operating in certain areas. But the problem is, all of these solutions are solutions to treat the symptoms, but we ignore the root cause of the disease itself. And the reason for this is, the simple truth of society is that we operate under the principle of Occam's razor, right? And that is the principle that the simplest explanation to a problem is often the right one. And so the simple solution to this problem is to blame the drugs. And by virtue, we blame the people who use the drugs because they're making bad choices. But here's the reality. It's not that simple. And that is why our fight against drugs in this country is losing. Because we don't handle it the right way. We attack the symptoms. In my experience in analyzing addicts, well, the choice to use drugs for the first time is certainly their own. The circumstances that drives them to that action are not. Those circumstances are manufactured by living in a world that is evolving while the collective mindset is not. By and large, many of the addicts that I've encountered are what I would refer to as wayward dreamers. Right, and if you're familiar with my work, then you are familiar with the concept that I believe most people exist in two categories: dreamers and settlers. Settlers see the world as it is and seek their place in it. Dreamers see the world as it could be and seek to expand it through change. Now, a vast majority of the addicts I have encountered are dreamers, right? They are dreamers who have failed to realize their dreams. And a big reason for that is that society has this inability to accept and nurture the reality that dreamers see. In particular, in small towns, dreamers are often chastised. They are told that their ideas are stupid. They are beaten down to be and feel different. And as a result, many of them simply put on a mask. They force themselves into the life of a settler because, to be honest with you, it's easier. So they run from their true calling, because to answer that call is to open themselves up to the ugliness and the judgment of society. And that would allow society to rip them apart over and over again, and the fragile human psyche that makes up most dreamers and artistic souls just cannot handle that. We talk a lot about being part of building a better world, but the reality is society as a whole doesn't seek betterment. It seeks affirmation. Affirmation that our beliefs are righteous. Affirmation that the way we see things is the right way. And we have this psychological need to be accepted. So in large numbers, we flock to the collective way of thinking and we adapt our beliefs to whatever is trending. For dreamers, this is a fate worse than death. Imagine the madness that would consume you if you felt trapped in a life where you had to pretend that you believed and felt differently than you really did, or else you risk being ostracized. Imagine what would happen to a brilliant mind that has the potential of moving this world forward as it simply sits trapped, rotting away behind the rusty iron cages of the status quo. This is the root cause for most addiction. Because dreamers convince themselves that they are settlers and they run away from their calling. But that calling won't go away. It nags them, a forever present whisper that tells them that they are lost. And no matter how hard they build their facade, no matter how hard they try to settle with family, kids, a stable but meaningless job, they always feel empty. In an effort to avoid that internal tug of war, drugs and alcohol present an escape. A way to maybe not feel better, but to at least feel nothing. And the bliss of nothingness is what becomes addictive. Almost every addict I have spoken to is running from something. Most of the time they are running from parts of themselves. Sometimes they don't know exactly what it is because they've repressed their issues, hiding behind decades of masks and facades. Even when they do know, whether it be trauma, PTSD, or abandonment issues, they lack the resources to learn how to deal with it properly. Most mental health in this country is just a doctor that gives you pills that have the same effect as the drugs. They stop the feel. They should be teaching you how to deal with the feel, because this only extends the torment. Depression is caused by the feeling that you get when you have abandoned your intended path, when you have succumbed to the pressure of the collective. So you begin to believe that your brilliance is madness, and that your dreams are unreachable, and so you quit, you settle. And every day you spend walling yourself off, the soul energy that ties you to your calling slowly dies. And that's where the cold, empty feeling begins to creep in. The Settlers Collective, the one that seeks to bind everyone to the status quo, is why I take tremendous issue with religion being such a big part of the recovery process. It's not that I have an issue with religion per se. I believe the intended purpose of religion is pure. But like any organization that holds power, it has been manipulated to hang on to that power. There is a reason that it is peddled to those in their weakest moments. Because religion doesn't make sense in today's society. And the only hope from keeping society from evolving past religion being relevant is to mold it to vulnerable minds. But God is not the only answer. Having a relationship with God requires loving Him, and you cannot love anyone or anything until you've learned to love yourself. You have to learn to love yourself first, and that can only happen through a process of soul work, shadow work, introspection, therapy, and healing. Then, and only then, if you choose to pursue a relationship with God, will it be pure. Because then it is a choice made out of sound judgment and consideration instead of desperation. Religion is the vice grip of those who seek affirmation and not change. They are the people who cannot bear the thought that maybe the beliefs that they were raised on were wrong. Because if you take that away, then you remove the foundation of what they have built their lives on. Then what do they have? Who are they? And trying to figure those questions out is something that terrifies them. But it shouldn't, because that's how life is supposed to work. You're supposed to be wrong. You're not ever supposed to be done growing. You're not ever supposed to have all of the right answers. And that's my issue with religion, because the way it is utilized today isn't flexible. It doesn't allow for growth, only stagnation. And soul stagnation means the end of a purposeful life. And so if we do not adapt, if we do not evolve our consciousness and our collective way of thinking, then the world as we know it is doomed. We need a new lifeline for addicts. We need to treat this disease at the source. We need wellness centers and socialized medicine. We need mental health providers that push empathy, compassion, and spiritual understanding instead of pills. Not every diagnosis and treatment can come out of a textbook. If we treat all of our patients the same, the only thing we're helping is our billing numbers. Every person is unique. Their dreams, their goals, their souls are all meant to be utilized in a specific calling. And it is up to us to help them find it. For every soul we relight, every passion we ignite, it lights the way to a better future. Dreamers are in short supply. And the status quo is killing the very dreams that help shape this world. Addiction isn't a choice, it's a consequence. It's a consequence of beating our children into thinking that they have to conform to the standards of a world that will not exist when they grow up. It's teaching them that life is black and white, so they ignore the presence and the possibility of bright colors. Instead of existing to feed the machine, how about we exist to feed the hearts, the minds, and the souls of the people around us? And so to this I will say, if you are an addict, if you are struggling, if you need someone to listen to you, to help interpret, to help guide you, I will be your ear. There will be an email at the end of this video, and I implore you to message me. Even if I know you, or even if you are a complete stranger, do not feel as though I will judge you or you are a burden. You are my brothers and you are my sisters. And in the words of Edgar Allan Poe, tell me all the terrible things you've ever done, and let me love you anyways. The only way to move this world forward is to heal our pain and to let the light in. Through us, we can lead this cold world into a brighter future, because we are the wayward dreamers, and this is our purpose.